Hi guys, in this video I'll be showing you how to enable and use the in-game console for ETS2 and ATS. So let's go to the desktop, make sure your game's closed, and we'll go from there. So the next step is to go to your documents folder and find the Euro truck, or if you play an American truck, your American truck documents folder. Once you're in here, you'll find a config file. You may not see the CFG if you don't have file extensions turned on, so you can turn those on if you want. That might help. So what you want to do is edit this. And what you want to look for is the G_console. It will show as 0, but just replace the 0 for 1. Then you also want to search for G_developer. And do the same with that, replace the 0 to a 1 and save that file. So you've saved the file, close it down, and then launch up ETS or ATS. So when you're in game, to turn on the console, you just press the key that is underneath the escape key on your keyboard, like this, and now you've got the console. The first command we'll do is the time command. So what you put in is G_set_time space, then the time represented in the 24-hour clock. So I'm gonna just start with 10. But one thing to note, it will fast forward your game till that time. It always goes forwards. So if I do this now, it's 7 o'clock on the Monday here. Press enter on the console, and it takes me to 10 o'clock on the Tuesday, the next day in game. You can also refine that if you want it, let's say 10:30, you do the same command, but you put space after the 10, then 30 for 30 minutes. Now you've got 10:30. So the next command we'll do is a traffic command. This is if you want to turn on or turn off the traffic, or change the amount of traffic you get in game. So by default, it's G_traffic1. That's the base traffic you'll start off in game. If you want to turn off traffic, you replace the 1 with a 0. And as you can see, all the traffic just vanished. So let's say you want to increase the amount of vehicles on the road. You increase that number, let's say to 8. Though it will take a little bit of time for the vehicles to spawn in and start populating the area you're in. So it might just take a couple of minutes. As you can see, more vehicles are passing by now. You may not notice a huge increase straight away, but over time it slowly builds up. The next thing I'll do is not in the console, but it's a feature after you've enabled the dev mode in the settings, is if you press the 0 on your keyboard. My camera's now gone under the truck, but if you use the 8, 4, 5 and 6 arrow keys on your numpad, you can move around. Now if you use your scroll wheel on your mouse, if you scroll it up, you'll increase the speed. So what you're in now is a free view cam, and you can move anywhere in the map. The more you scroll up on your mouse, the faster you'll go. If you scroll down, the slower you go. It's a good little feature to look around the map, potentially hidden areas. As you can see, the traffic's building up from that command earlier. But another feature of this is you can actually teleport. So I'm going to move my camera just above the ground here. There's my truck there. I'll press Ctrl F9 on the keyboard. My truck has moved. So if I go into 2 cam, the truck's over here. So you can now teleport across the map as long as you're in single player and combo mode. But if you want to teleport somewhere much further around the map, instead of just within the same town, by using FreeCam, you can use the Goto command. So if I type in Goto, I'm currently in Grimsby at the moment, but let's say we'll go to Paris. Teleport. Open up F5, and now we're in Paris. We can just find a road we can teleport on. If you teleport off the normal roads, you might fall through the map. I think I might have gone on the wrong one, but there you go. I'm now in Paris. So I've come back to Grimsby, and we'll do some weather effects now. So what you can do is, I got them recently. There you go. So G-set weather, and there's two options for these. There's an odd number, 1, 3, 5, and so on. It will give you bad weather, so like rain, cloud, and stuff like that. Or you could go for an even number, and you'll get nice weather. There's also, with that, different skybox options. So, as you normally play through the game, you'll have slightly different skyboxes with different attributes for the weather. But you can change the skybox as well. So if we go skybox 2, it's slightly different cloudy sky. You can kind of just go through these options to see what you want. These will change as the game starts to progress again. But if you want a certain one for some screenshots, you can use these. So if you like to take screenshots in FreeCam, which I do because you get better angles, and you can go a bit further away than using the camera without installing mods. You still get these, green little UI elements at service stations, at depots, and you get the X's at junctions that you can't go down. There are ways to turn those off. So the command is for the elements is G show elements with the underscores 0. That turns off the green icons everywhere. Then for the blockers, it's G show game blockers, and that's a 0 as well, and that turns off at the junctions. So be careful. Though you can't see the X's, they still exist, so you still can't go down those roads. So if you like to have these off while driving for kind of a cleaner experience, just be careful, because you might end up crashing down those. I've done that many times when I've had these elements turned off. I didn't look at my GPS and I ended up crashing into an invisible wall. So that's just something to be careful of. And as with most of the commands, to turn them back on, it's just a 1. There you go. So when they added in the suspension system for the game, when you lowered the system like this, by default, when you start driving up to, I think, 30 or 40 miles per hour, the suspension starts to reset itself. This button motion. There is a way to stop that, so you can stay a bit of a low rider if you like. So what you need to do is G auto reset, suspension auto reset 0, and that will disable that. If you want it back on, then it's 1. So in the last update, they added in 2 new commands which are currently experimental, but you can use them if you like, which is the adaptive cruise control, so G_ACC, then a number, so let's say 40, I want to stay 40 meters behind the vehicle ahead. So when I turn on cruise control down the motorway, for example, my vehicle should stay 40 meters behind. As it's experimental, it doesn't always work, so be careful with it. Also, there's the emergency brake, so if the vehicle ahead starts braking suddenly, my vehicle should do the same. That's G emergency brake, then 1. If you want to disable that, you just put 0. But once again, that's experimental, so use it at your own risk. Because otherwise you could literally just suddenly stop for no good reason. But it's worth having a go. So there's one more command I'd like to show you in the game, and that's the warp command, where you can accelerate game time. This is not the same as the time command I showed earlier. This just literally accelerates it, not jumps to a certain time. So if I type in warp 5, this will accelerate the game time by 5. So we're going 5 times the speed. This doesn't just affect NPC vehicles, this affects you as well. So if you try to drive, you will go 5 times faster, but be careful. If you want to go back to normal, it's just warp 1, that's the default game speed. If you want to freeze time, that's warp 0, everything freezes. But be careful on this. Like I said, it accelerates you as well, so it may not be so easy to drive on Warp 5 or onwards. So there you go, that's how you enable and use the console in ETS2 and ATS. I'll put all the commands I've used today down in the description below, and when SCS add more console commands, I'll also put those down in at a future date. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.